Most businesses lose leads in the first 5 minutes after a form is submitted. So in this video, I'm going to build an AI sales agent that is going to call those leads instantly. Hey, this is Brendan speaking.
Hi, Brendan. This is Emily from Blue Marketing Services. I'm a digital assistant reaching out because you expressed interest in our marketing services. Is now a good time to chat?
Yeah, that's fine.
Perfect. We've logged your website request, and someone from our team will reach out to you in the next few hours over email.
This system will use Retell AI to ask qualifying questions, then hand the responses off to an n8n agent. That agent will then push the data into multiple Salesforce CRM modules, including finding the contact, summarizing the call, and assigning qualified leads to in-person events based on what they said. So jumping right into it, this right here is Retell AI. So Retell AI is going to be our main platform for building the AI voice agent. I'm going to go ahead and showcase building a prompt right here. I'm going to create this for sort of a mock marketing agency. This is going to be a sort of a qualification caller. Let's say somebody has submitted a form on a website. This system is going to call them right after they've submitted that form. It's going to ask them a couple of qualifying questions, and based on their responses, that is all going to get sent over to an n8n agent. So if we go ahead and check on n8n, this is an agent that is going to essentially assess the call, the summary that has come from Retell. And based on what's happened, we are going to go ahead and do one of these 3 tasks through Salesforce. So I'll come back to this later. Otherwise, we're going to get started in building out our AI voice agent on Retell. I'm also going to do something a little bit different in this video. I'm going to be using a Markdown live preview tool. This Markdown tool is going to allow us to look at our prompt in its final Markdown form. So if you're familiar with prompting, you'll know that Markdown formatting is just a really good way to structure our prompt, our instruction set, using headings and subheadings and dot points and all of that stuff. We're going to be able to visually see in this tool. So to get started, this right here is markdownlivepreview.com, pretty straightforward domain. And this is going to allow us to look at our prompts quite differently than what we'll typically see on the native builder of Retell. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in this right here. This is a part of the prompt that I've already created for the role section of this particular agent. If you know some of my builds before, I typically have a set template that I like to start all of my builds with. I typically recommend having a template to start with. It really just gets things going in terms of how to structure your prompt, and then obviously changing it later down the road. Adding things to it, removing things from it is going to be necessary once you've got it developed. So this right here is the role. So the role is really shaping the personality of our agent. You are Emily, working with Blue Marketing Services. You will be calling leads who have just submitted a form on our website to gather additional information. So this is what we're going to go ahead and also paste into our Retell agent right here. And so this is how it's going to look on Retell. It's just going to be using the Markdown formatting, but we're not going to be able to even see it. So we're using obviously the hashtag up here. This is creating a heading. And then you'll see we've obviously got the 2 asterisks around the text here. And this is creating bold text. You'll also see down here, we've got the 3 dashes, and this is creating a line or a separation between content. And so if we go over to the Markdown live preview, we're going to get a much better understanding as to what I'm even talking about. And you'll see here on the right-hand side of the screen, this is the Markdown output from what we've just put in. And so this is giving you a much clearer idea as to how the AI is actually processing your prompt. But anyways, in terms of what I've actually mapped out here, you are Emily, working with Blue Marketing Services. You'll be calling leads who have just submitted a form on our website to gather additional information. So this is a super basic role. It's a super basic task that this system is going to have to follow along with. And that's all we've really needed to do for the role. The next part of this agent is going to be the task. So right here, I've gone ahead and added in an additional heading with the task. I've added 1 hashtag and added the main big task at the top here. Below this, I've added in a subheading. So we're now using 2 dashes right there, or 2 hashtags right there for our subheading. And you'll see here, initial greeting. There's 2 hashtags is the heading 2, so that's a slightly smaller heading. And that just helps format that content. Once again, you really want the AI to have complete context as to what information is relating to what. So when it goes to retrieve or just think about doing something, it knows where to look and what to look for in its decision. So if it needs to complete some sort of a task, it's going to know that, likely it's going to be contained within here. And so it just gives it a little bit better direction. Below this, we've got begin every call with this, and we've got a sort of a static message, although this will obviously just be read out from the prompt, depending on however it decides it wants to read it. Although I've gone ahead and said, hi, John, this is Emily from Blue Marketing Services. I'm a digital assistant reaching out because you expressed interest in our marketing services. Is now a good time to chat. So this is our initial greeting. The way that I've gone ahead and set it up on Retell is that I want the AI to remain silent until the user speaks first. So because this will be an outbound system, we're always going to recommend that if you're going to be sending out outbound calls, just wait for the user to at least say something or introduce themselves before the AI starts speaking. In some cases, getting a call when the AI starts speaking can be a bit confusing. It's a bit overwhelming. It might overlap it in the conversation. Just having the user speak first is quite smooth. So once again, adding that back into our Retell prompt, and you'll see here once again, we have added in this indentation right here. And so this is once again just separated this bit of text from the rest. It's just clearly added in that the information that we want to read out for this initial greeting is contained within this section right here. We've obviously added the column here to separate those two bits of information to really let it know that this is what it should be reading out. No more, no less. This is the sort of static message. Load this task, we've added in another section which is still sort of contained within the task section of our prompt. We've added in an additional 2 hashtags for the second heading, and this is if they say no. So essentially, the first message just says, is now a good time to chat? It's likely that some people will not want to chat. And so if they do say no, we have this section to handle that response. And if they say no, respond with, okay, no worries, have a great day. So signing off there with, once again, we've created the indentation just to really store that this is what we want it to say. And obviously we haven't used a heading 1 on top of this. We want this to be contained within the task. So we've really just kept it related there. We have added the separating line to make sure that we haven't confused these two as well. So these are all the things that you need to think about when prompting, structuring content, just making it really simple and easy to formulate exactly what relates to what in sort of a nicely formatted document. Now, if they don't say no and they actually say yes, this is going to be the main chunk of this particular agent. Go ahead and paste this in right here. So if they say yes, this is what we're going to go through. So pretty much a very similar process for how we're formatting the markdown structure of the prompt. If they say yes, and you'll see here the no and yes has also been italicized. You'll see here as well. I've decided to put 1 asterisk on either side. It's been italicized. Once again, this is just further emphasis and contrast for the agent to look at. Obviously, the no and yes are the 2 critical factors that it needs to look into. That's determining if it's going to go down this path or this path, just adding in that extra bit of contrast for it to understand that this is going to be the main deciding factor. Adding in that is just going to help out a little bit, making it just that little bit more reliable. Then below this, very much the same. We've added in just the continue with text. Perfect. We've logged your website request and someone from our team will reach out to you in the next few hours over email. So we've added this in here. For this particular use case, this system is going to call somebody after they've submitted sort of a website form. Somebody has requested information from someone. We're obviously just going to let them know that, perfect, well, we've actually submitted your website request that you just filled out probably a minute ago. So they have complete context as to what we're referring to. And then obviously the actual company that they inquired for is going to reach out to them later. But the goal of this system is to just ask some survey questions, gather some information from them, potentially qualifying them as well, and just sending that information into the CRM system so that the salespeople and the rest of the company has a bit more context about this lead than they had previously. And one of the big benefits of doing this over a voice system is really just to make it a lot more natural, a lot more conversational. It's going to get a lot more information out of the person speaking on the phone. So rather than sending somebody a form where they're just going to, type a response as quickly as possible, as short as possible, giving you not much data, actually speaking to somebody over the phone, even though it is an automated system, really allows you to explain your thoughts a lot better. And you're going to get a much greater depth of information and data out of this particular phone system. So after we've read out this first message, letting them know that somebody will still reach out to them. This is obviously not the only point of contact that they're going to be having. Then ask the following survey questions. Please ask each question step by step, not all at once. So right after this, I've just mapped out 3 questions that we want to ask the caller. So what are your current marketing goals? Brand awareness, lead generation, or sales growth? What does success look like to you in the next 6 to 12 months? And are there specific KPIs or metrics you're focusing on? So for these questions, we have used some bold text. We've added some bold text for it to just clearly identify and separate the section of questions with obviously just the regular text. And then obviously once it's asked the last question, and we've obviously added this bit of conditioning at the top here to ask each question step by step, not all at once. It's going to go through this as it should. And then we've got close with, thanks for answering those questions. Lastly, just wanted to ask if you were interested in our upcoming customer conference on July 2nd. This is something else I've just added in at the end here. If somebody's interested in joining a particular conference for the company, we've got a condition to capture that information as well. And then obviously they can either say yes or no. Once this information is captured, please run the Salesforce agent to store the user's question. So this is going to be triggering a function that we're going to go ahead and build on Retell now. So jumping back into Retell AI, I've gone ahead and uploaded the entire prompt in here. And you can already see immediately jumping back into Retell that the prompt is not as nicely formatted. It is a little bit harder to actually understand the structure, where everything is, what's related to each other, when it is just constant lines of text. So having this bit of markdown formatting live preview to look at the structure of that prompt is quite a game changer to obviously understanding how your prompt is structured, how the AI is actually going to be looking at the prompt instead of instructions that you've given it. But anyways, the next part of this agent is going to be setting up our Salesforce agent and connecting it to Retell. So the function step over here is how we're going to be communicating with our Salesforce agent. And obviously we're going to be setting this up on n8n. So jumping into n8n, this right here is the Salesforce agent that I'm going to be plugging our voice agent directly into. And so the goal here is to make the entire process of agent to agent communication a whole lot smoother. Rather than creating independent automations to do any type of individual task on Salesforce, the benefit of using a n8n agent is the fact that we can connect multiple different modules, multiple different connection points into sort of a system prompt, very similar to how we're building our voice agent. And we can communicate directly to this agent, which has its own independent system prompt, which we'll run through in just a minute. And that is essentially dedicated to understanding everything about Salesforce and everything that we can do with the current agent and all of its tools that are attached. And so the big benefit here is that our two agents can actually speak to each other. So our Retell agent will send the request to the n8n Salesforce agent. And if there's any issues on Salesforce or any issues doing anything with that particular agent, it can easily communicate that back to the Retell agent. And then it can essentially talk to each other over its request to essentially finalize what it's looking to do. So if there's an issue with the customer conference, maybe the date has expired, the n8n agent will have complete context for that. It will send that to the Retell agent and it will let the customer know that there is an issue there. And so obviously there's a little bit more fluidity, a lot more dynamic when we have two sort of system prompts talking to each other rather than a series of independent automations. So hopefully you understand what the difference here and the benefit here of using a system like this is. So in getting started for this n8n agent, the first step is going to be a webhook. So in order to communicate from Retell or any other app to this particular system, it's going to need a webhook to do that. And in particular, it's going to be the post version of the webhook. So if I just click into this right here, this is our webhook settings. Pretty simple to get this set up. You essentially go ahead and click on, obviously, the what happens section, type in webhook and just select the webhook section, and that'll populate this module right here. Jumping into here, we're going to have our webhook URLs. So this right here is the webhook URL. This is what we're going to be using to communicate directly from Retell. Pretty much just click on the production URL button right here and just copy that URL. Come back to Retell and we're going to be using this to essentially set up a custom function to communicate with our agent. So we can come back to this in just a second. Otherwise, just swap this HTTP method for the post. So at default, it might be the GET request. Just swap it over to post request so we can post information to this agent. And then if we go ahead and look at the bottom here where it says respond, we want the information to be communicated back to our agent so they can have sort of a conversation if there are any issues. So just click into this. It's not going to be immediately. That's only going to essentially not send any information. We want to select when last node finishes. So when the last run finishes in the particular execution of the n8n flow, it is going to obviously just send that information back to our agent. And that's perfect. Just set it up there and that's good to go. Once again, remembering to copy that production URL. Jumping back into our agent, what we're going to be using is the AI agent module. So if we click on the plus button, there's a few different actions that we can and modules that we can essentially add into our flow. But the main thing is going to be this advanced AI. We're going to click on the AI agent. We're going to insert that into the canvas. Jumping into this AI agent module right here, there's a couple of different things that we are going to have to change and modify to get up and running for our system. So you'll see at the top here, we've set it to Tools Agent. It'll probably set to Tools Agent by default. But ultimately, the purpose of this agent is to obviously communicate with a series of tools that we've connected to it. A big thing that we're going to be doing for this particular agent is defining its own individual prompt. So you can see here, source for prompt, user message defined below. Make sure that is selected to define below and not this chat trigger node. Once you've done that, we're going to get access to this sort of text block and we can add in our own prompt here. So I'm going to just make this a little bit bigger. This is the prompt that I've created for our independent Salesforce agent. So you can see here, you are a Salesforce AI agent who will take the inquiry and decide which Salesforce tool is required for this inquiry. And so this is the basic request. Obviously, to make this better, we can go ahead and now add in our markdown formatting. So I can just put the role here. We can add our task right here as well. Pretty much role and task is the main set of instructions that I've given it at the moment here. Obviously, this isn't going to be a conversational agent. This is more of a sort of a request agent. It has access to tools. It's going to follow through with a particular request and provide a response based on that. So ultimately, that's the role. This is the task. Here are the tools you have available. Finding lead ID information, adding leads to events, and creating a summary note as an activity for the lead. So I'll give you context as to what this all means. So if I just jump out of this particular prompt here, I'll just jump back out again and into the flow. I've gone ahead and added in 3 independent Salesforce modules and Salesforce API calls for 3 different tasks. So all up, one of the main things that we need to do in terms of this particular automation is obviously exactly find which lead we're going to be referring to in this conversation. So this system is just built on the theory that when somebody sends their website request to the business, there's already some sort of automation that is taking that request and turning them into a customer within the CRM system, assuming that that is already built. This system will plug directly on top of that. And so once that's happened, the customer has all their details inserted into the CRM system. What this system will do is it will do a get lead ID. So on Salesforce, we'll jump into this module here. This is directly connected just via an OAuth authentication directly to the Salesforce account. So it's got complete context. This will look at all leads, get some leads. It's going to essentially only get one lead based on a set of conditions that we've mapped out. In this particular case, I've gone ahead and set the mobile number equal to, and I've just typed in my mobile number. I've essentially set the lead in Salesforce to my particular mobile number. Although the way that this would work is that you can very simply either click this little AI button right here, which just means that based on the request that comes through, it's automatically going to populate this field with the person that's calling in. So Retell will send the phone number over the request into the n8n automation every time. So you can essentially use AI to detect it. Otherwise, you could also set it as a variable for every time the phone number comes through, it will populate within this field. So at the moment, I've just set it to mine because I'm going to be doing a test call, but otherwise you can obviously set it up using the AI step to populate automatically. So once we've gotten the lead ID, which is sort of a Salesforce unique identifier for who we're going to be referring to, I have essentially prompted our agent to take that ID and use it in the next two steps. So it's always going to be getting the lead ID to figure out who to actually manage within the next two steps. So for every conversation that the user says yes and wants to talk to the system, what will happen is that we're going to be creating a task for them. And so this task, if I just go ahead and jump into Salesforce right here, this is a fake person that I've gone ahead and created particularly for this demo. So John Smith is assigned directly to my phone number. So I've just added in a mobile number for John Smith, which is my own. So it can be detected from the system. And if we just scroll down a bit, you can see there is some basic information here based on John Smith. And if I go ahead and click on this activity tab right here, you're going to see a couple of calls that have come through. So these calls have been directly added in from our n8n agent. So if I click on this call at the bottom here, this is a call that I did earlier, and it's gone ahead and populated some comments as to sort of a summary as to what the calls just happened. So comments, gathered marketing goals, growth, success metric, triple revenue, KPI focus, more ads, and they're not interested in the July 2nd customer conference. So this has all been populated directly from the transcript of the conversation that occurred earlier. And so obviously from the perspective of somebody that's managing the Salesforce instance in this case, they can obviously just come through and tick these calls as being reviewed. They've obviously had a look at some of the information. And obviously you can set this up however you want. You can create activities, notes, etc., and do whatever you want. But the way that this works on n8n is that we have selected the resource as task. So we're going to be creating a task. Operation is create. We're going to be creating a task. Beneath this, we have a description. So the description is what you saw populated over here. Click on the call comments. This is the description right here. Jumping back into n8n, we have just used the AI step within n8n to automatically populate the description of the task. So our agent step is essentially going to come up with a whatever it's going to put in there. So you can make it a little bit more defined. If you want to add a description, you can prompt it yourself here to specifically add in or expand upon different sets of information that have come from the call. So if you want it to expand on answers to questions and things like that, you can just add in a prompt there. Below this, we've just given it a title. I've just called it call. Below this, we have the who ID. So if you click on add a field at the bottom here, you can add in multiple different fields for populating anything within the particular task. All I've added in is the who ID. So who is this actually related to? So this is important. I've once again just defined this using the AI step. I've just given a description as this is the lead ID. Now it will have context for the lead ID because it was run previously in this step. And then finally, if somebody has interest in the customer conference, it's going to go down this module. It's going to use this module. So we can see here, resource lead operation is add the lead to the campaign. So that we've got a few other options that we can use in here as well. It's going to automatically define the lead ID based on obviously using AI in the step that happened before it. And then we're just moving this particular lead into this particular customer conference. It's been set up here. There's a couple more samples here that we can use. Otherwise, it's adding them into that particular setting. And obviously, we can add more and more of these Salesforce modules that they have. There's plenty of others that can be selected for attachments, accounts, information, all of this stuff we can create. Really this incredible, Salesforce AI agent that has complete context of everything that can happen within the CRM, and based on any request that comes through from the customer, it can populate that wherever it's most appropriate. So jumping back into our AI agent step, this should make a little bit more sense as to how we're using this system prompt to communicate with all of these nodes. So task, here are the tools you have available. Finding lead ID information, it's going to get it from that module. Adding leads to events, it'll use the events module. Creating a summary note as an activity for the lead, it'll use the activity creation node to do that. So based on the request that you receive, you will need to get the lead ID from the mobile number provided and then run one of the two tasks, which would be these two tasks here. Here is the user's request. So this has come from the webhook. So in order to get this value populating right here, you will need to run the system once in order to get it. Otherwise, this is the user request. And essentially this is sort of a summary that is coming from our function call on Retell, which is what I'm going to show you now. So jumping back into Retell, this is the final step for setting up this system. We're going to click on the custom function at the bottom of the function step right here. I'm going to go ahead and give this system a name. So I'm just going to call this the Salesforce Agent. I'm going to give it a description as well. It's going to be trigger this when needing to do something in Salesforce. So super broad. You could probably make this a lot better, but just for the purpose of this, something needs to be done in Salesforce. It will obviously have context to use this tool. API endpoint, we need to make sure that we're doing a post request. We're posting information off to n8n in this case. And then for the API endpoint, we're going to be pasting in that URL. So coming back to n8n, this is going to come from here, production URL, copy this URL, jumping back into here, we'll just paste it right there. So just scrolling down here in the parameters section, we're going to essentially set a series of variables and parameters that we want to send off to n8n. And in this case, just click this form button right here, and this makes it a little bit easier to structure info that we're going to be sending off. Parameter name, description, type, and required. So if I just click on this add button right here, what we're going to be sending off is sort of the request. We're just going to summarize what the user is requesting. And so to make the n8n agent's life a little bit easier, what I'm going to do is type request in the parameter name. And so these parameter name and description is completely using AI to determine what information is going to be being sent. So I'm just going to type request there. I'm going to go ahead and copy in this right here for the description. So please summarize the exact reason for calling this tool. So very simply, please summarize the exact reason for calling this tool. This is going to be using a prompt to essentially provide us with a response. The type is going to be a string, so a series of words. And then required, this is going to be required for our request. We will tick that on, and that's good to go. That's all done. You can turn on speak during execution. So for this particular function call, it will probably take a little bit of time to go through because it does have to communicate with a few different Salesforce modules before coming back. So we can go ahead and just type in a message here. So something like, let me check that for you. We can paste that in there. Otherwise, I can just say, thank you, please give me one moment. So essentially you've given it all the questions. The system's just gonna say, thank you, please give me one moment. And then a couple of seconds later, it's gonna come back with obviously response from n8n. So we'll just hit save and that is pretty much ready to go. So lastly, just making sure that this system is all ready to go. Just make sure to hit the save button. This is now going to be using a production URL. So just make sure this is active at the top here. It's ready and it's live as a system. All we need to do is go ahead and click on the executions button, and we're going to go ahead and send some requests through. Hey, this is Brendan speaking.
Hi, Brendan. This is Emily from Blue Marketing Services. I'm a digital assistant reaching out because you expressed interest in our marketing services. Is now a good time to chat?
Yeah, that's fine.
Perfect. We've logged your website request, and someone from our team will reach out to you in the next few hours over email. To help us better understand your needs, can I ask, what are your current marketing goals? For example, brand awareness, lead generation, sales growth.
Yeah, definitely sales growth. That's something we're looking to focus on.
Great, thank you for sharing that. Next, what does success look like to you in the next 6 to 12 months?
Tripling our revenue.
Thank you, Brendan. That's a clear and ambitious goal. Are there specific KPIs or metrics you're focusing on to track your progress toward tripling your revenue?
Mostly to do with marketing, so social media posts.
Thanks for clarifying, Brendan. So, you're interested in tracking social media metrics and performance as key indicators for your marketing efforts. Lastly, just wanted to ask if you were interested in our upcoming customer conference on July 2nd?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Please give me one moment. Thanks, Brendan. I've noted all your responses and registered your interest for the July 2nd conference. Someone from our team will be in touch soon over email. If you have any other questions, feel free to let us know. Have a great day.
Amazing. Thank you. So there you have it. We've gone ahead and talked to our agent. We've ran through the series of qualification questions, and it's gone ahead and sent the entirety of our request over to the next agent, the AI agent on n8n. And you can see here that everything within this agent has gone ahead and ran as expected. So we had our webhook come through, got sent to the AI agent. I can just click in here. I'm going to even have a look at the information that was processed for the particular agent as well. So the input that came from Retell is right here. So I have successfully created, this is actually the n8n output here. If we go ahead and look at our prompt, we can see here, this is what came from Retell. So here is the user request. Brendan is focused on sales growth as his main marketing goal. His definition of success in the next 12 months is tripling his revenue. He's interested in tracking social media metrics as key KPIs. Brendan is also interested in attending the customer conference on July 2nd. So it is fully summarized all of the questions and responses to the main key aspects of the agent that we set up. It's gone ahead and sent that through to our next agent in a nice summary. And based on this, it's gone ahead and ran all of the tool functions. So we can see here, jumping out, it's gone ahead and got the lead ID. We can click into here. It's gone ahead and appropriately found the lead ID from a contact that I created. It's gone ahead and took that to our customer conference tool as well. Obviously, just inserted the lead ID through using AI only, and it's done that perfectly. And it's obviously moved the lead to that conference, jumping into Salesforce. You can see here currently 0, but I'll just refresh the page. We'll see here, this is now 1. So customer conference is now been added, and I'm now added there. So that's perfect. Jumping back into here, create a task, jumping into this as well. You can see that it was defined, the ID was defined. And then obviously if we look at the response here for the summary, we can see here, this is the exact sort of description that was populated. So Brendan is focused on sales growth as his main marketing goal. His definition of success in the next 6 to 12 months, tripling revenue. He's interested in tracking social media metrics as key KPIs, and Brendan is also interested in attending the customer conference. So perfect, a great definition and summary, once again, that's inserted itself for the task. And jumping back into Salesforce, if we just scroll down to the bottom of the page, we can click in activity, and we'll see that there is now, if we click view more, a new call that has populated itself right here. If we have a look at this, this is what's just been created. So Brendan's focus on sales growth, back into n8n. That's essentially exactly the text that's been inserted right here in the comment section. So there we go, perfect. We've now been able to have our Retell voice agent communicate to an n8n agent, in which has then been able to communicate and upsert all the information into Salesforce to be managed directly from here. I hope that video was helpful in understanding how to connect these 3 systems together. That's Retell, n8n, and Salesforce. How to really easily communicate information between all platforms to make it dynamic and seamless to build a really cool agent. As always, if you want to get access to all of the templates and everything that I built in this video, you can go ahead and join my free school community linked in the description. We've got over 10,000 members. I've got plenty of templates in there as well, so you can copy them. It's completely free. We've got a lot of people that you can network with and talk with. If you've got any issues, you can raise them there as well. And if you are a business owner and you're looking at these AI voice systems and automation systems, and you want to get something built out for your business, feel free to check out our website, linked in the description as well, and you can reach out to us.